It's that point in the show when we get some insights on the Bears from our Bear Blitz analyst, Hub Arkush. He joins us now from Chicagoland. And Hub, it can be easy to overreact to one game, but a few alarms went off in my head while watching the Bears lose to the Packers. What alarms went off for you, or what disturbed you as you were watching that game?
Well, I mean, you can't ignore how ugly it was on offense. You also should not ignore how outstanding it was on defense. That was as good a defensive performance as you're going to see from any team in the NFL. Last year's number one defense looks like it was ready on night one, which is what is so disappointing. I'm not going to go disturbing yet about the fact that the offense clearly was not ready. Certainly the play of Mitch Trubisky was concerning, but, for me, I don't know how much of it is because he wasn't prepared as best he could, having had some live game speed reps in front of him before he went out there. He didn't get a lot of help from his wide receivers. The offensive line wasn't awful. It just wasn't real good. The running backs we didn't see enough of to know. So I think that, Mitch Trubisky had a pretty bad game, and Matt Nagy had a very bad game. And those are two guys you can't afford to have that happen with.
Yeah, Nagy's reluctance to run the ball against the Packers was giving me flashbacks to last year. I thought he had the running backs this year that he liked and that fit his system. We're not going to be in for a repeat of last year, are we, with a run game where he just kind of ignores it?
I don't know how much he's ignoring it. There's kind of an interesting narrative that's developing now at his postmortem on Friday following the game. In the last answer to the last question, as the session was breaking up, he made the point. He understands where everybody's focus is. He agrees they have to run the football more. But for the first time, he reminded everybody that some portion of their playbook, their running game, is these RPOs, these run-pass options. And there are many times when we as viewers, even analysts, don't know whether that pass you just saw thrown was supposed to be a run that looked like play action because Trubisky pulled the ball out. That is both good and bad because there's a fix to it, which is you just don't call RPOs, you call more straight runs. The concern would be, is Mitch having trouble reading the defense and understanding when to run on those RPOs, as well as what we've already talked about, which is that some growth definitely still necessary in reading coverages and reading defenses down the field. So again, you never overreact to one game. Opening day around the NFL is crazy. The Bears were one of at least half a dozen, maybe more teams who disappointed in one way or another. So we'll see what happens. It really makes this game in Denver pretty much a must-win situation. The tough part of this schedule comes after the first 5 games. They can't afford to give another one of these first 5 away.
I'm sure you got to see some of the Broncos game Monday night. How do you think Vic Fangio will do as a head coach? And does he have a chance to win with this Denver roster?
I don't know. I don't really have an opinion yet. No, he's not going to win with this Denver roster. He can be competitive. Maybe he can be 500. Maybe he'd get to 9 wins. I would think 7 is more likely. This team, even on the defensive side in Denver, is not stacked the way we're used to seeing it stacked with some of these great Bronco defenses of recent seasons. Now, Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive coaches in football, so he will get the most out of them. But there are places where they're vulnerable. And offensively, if you watch Monday night, that was pretty ugly. As far as how he will work out as a head coach, I think he could do really well if he gets the right parts to work with. Some guys were meant to be coordinators, not head coaches. I haven't seen enough of Vic to say he's one of them. I'm not suggesting that, but you do always have to keep that in mind. It's kind of like first-round quarterbacks. Only about 10% of them work out. So as far as these coordinators who become head coaches, most don't work out.
Well, Fangio got to watch Mitch Trubisky up close for 2 straight years. How concerned should the Bears be that Fangio perhaps knows which buttons to push to rattle Trubisky on Sunday?
I don't know if I'd look at it that way. Vic knows Mitch as well or better than any other opposing coach he's going to face. But it's not like Trubisky is a deep, dark secret around the league at this point. He's got 26 starts under his belt. That tape is out there for everybody. So does he know a little bit more about him as a person, about his temperament? Yeah, but is there anything you can do on the field that is likely to rattle him more than other teams might figure out? Obviously, tremendous pressure bothers every quarterback, and with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb coming off the edges, they have the ability to create tremendous pressure. I think this one gets back to now it's week 2. Both these teams desperately need a win. Both teams desperately need to play better on offense. And I think even with his familiarity with Mitch Trubisky, this one's a tough putt for Vic Fangio.
All right, Hub, we appreciate your insights as always. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right, Scott, take care.
All right, catch Hub here every week. You can also hear Hub on the Bears pregame and postgame shows on Sports Radio 670, The Score in Chicago. And Hub is, of course, the executive editor of ProFootballWeekly.com, where you can find not only lots of Bears information, but information from all around the NFL. Up next, we'll have our predictions for this week's action in the NFC North. As we head to the break, though, here's our Bear Blitz trivia question. Linebacker Roquan Smith is the latest player named Smith to suit up for the Bears. How many players named Smith have suited up for the Bears in their history? Is it 15, 18, or 20? I'll have the answer when we come back.